Hello, fans.
Oh, come on, don't do that.
That was bad, huh?
Hi, Damien.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, coming to you from the Time Warner Cable Studios here in downtown Milwaukee. We're live on Wednesday, April 28th. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero, the Cos, Frank Cosentino, Skull Crusher, Rashi Brown, and the man they call Meathead. And our guest right now, making his first appearance here on the Pro Wrestling Report, Sean Morley, formerly known as Val Venis. Sean, welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report.
Thanks for having me, guys. How's everybody doing?
Tremendous.
Excellent. That's what I always like to hear.
We're still riding a high from spending a week out in Phoenix, out in your city.
Not me. I don't do drugs.
Now, how can you want to hide from one of the greatest cities in the world? The sun shines every single day here all day long.
No, I said we're riding a high.
Oh, riding a high.
Yes, indeed.
Hiding.
No, God, no. I actually didn't want to leave when we left there after WrestleMania, but...
totally understandable.
Sean, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world right now and share with the fans what's been going on since we last saw you in TNA Wrestling.
Well, just we're doing some independence here and there. We're still trying to reorganize my Mexican deal, as I was kind of messed up with TNA. And so we got boot camps that we've just scheduled our first one up in Peterborough, Ontario, Canada, and we're planning on doing several weekend boot camps throughout Canada and the United States and Mexico as well.
You know, Sean, so you go into TNA, unexpected, all of a sudden there you are, and you're there for a few weeks. What was it like in the startup of the Hogan-Bischoff era of TNA for you?
For me it was obviously something new. I mean, it was fresh, it was new, at least it seemed that way when I went in there. I think TNA is definitely a decent organization. I think they have a lot of potential behind them to grow. But when I was there, it felt like there were a lot of different heads pulling in different directions. And I think that's a problem they're going to have to sort out. They're going to have to, someone there is going to have to establish themselves as the leader of the organization. Now, whether that's Dixie Carter, whether that's Eric Bischoff, whoever it may be, somebody has to establish one head in order to run that organization, because there's just too many heads pulling in different directions. At least that's the impression I got.
And that's the impression we have as well. We've been talking about that for the last few weeks on our TV and radio programs. Who is that person who is definitively in charge in TNA right now?
That's the problem. Like, nobody really knows. With WWE, you have the one man that decides the entire direction of the show, and it makes it so much easier because everybody can fall back in line and do their job. Mm-hmm. With TNA, it feels like there are some people that will write a script and they'll push the storylines in one direction, and somebody else will come in and try to push it in another direction, and then you have other people pulling in different directions after that, and it doesn't seem like there's one head leading the company.
No, it sounds a little bit like the WCW stigma that it was going on for the last 4, 5, 6 years that was going on down there.
Yeah, I didn't spend any time with WCW, but yeah, from what I heard, it's fairly similar. TNA has a lot of fantastic talent. But I think the one main issue that I see with them is that there is no definitive leader in the organization, and whether that be Eric Bischoff or whether it be Dixie Carter or Hulk Hogan or whatever the case may be, somebody has to step up as the definitive leader. Jeff Jarrett maybe. I don't think you can have real power sharing there.
Val, how do you feel as being one of the first guys that they decided to bring in to pretty much spike the company and drawing viewers that come from elsewhere, and at the same time, you said earlier that they messed up your Mexico deal. At the same time, you're no longer there, and I'm an independent worker myself, so the relationship you have with Mexico, how do you repair that, just for the fans' sake, to get insight into a wrestler, with relationships? How do you repair going back to Mexico after you thought, things might work out well for you in TNA, and they haven't?
Well, here's the thing: I worked in Mexico for almost 2 years before I started with WWE. Mm-hmm. Paco Alonso, the guy that owns Arena Mexico, I'm fairly tight with him. He's always been really good to me, and we've always worked well together. Now, when I was set to start on March the 5th, Part of the deal with TNA was I would do TVs and pay-per-views for TNA, and I'd work Mexico full-time.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mexico was my main deal. I was set to start March 5th. My work visa was pushed through for March 5th as a start date. Now your start date has to correspond with your work visa start date. And so one of the things I gave to TNA, or an agreement I had with TNA was, 4 to 6 weeks in advance, I needed my schedule for pay-per-views, so Mexico could book around that. And they did that at first. And Mexico booked me for March 5th as a start date. We had March 8th in Arena Mexico, and so on. We just continue on. And a little more than a week before I was getting ready to start in Mexico, TNA called and said they're going to go live on Monday night, so they need to get my March 8th date back. And I couldn't do that. I can't,
right.
just tell Mexico, hey, you've advertised me and everything for the last, 6 weeks. Sorry, I can't do it anymore.
Right. And then, of course, they would have used you on March 8th, and you'd be just sitting there.
And that's exactly what happened. The March 8th date. And so that kind of got me hot, but okay, we'll work around it. But it screwed up my work visa date for the start. They have to tear out the work visa and reprocess another one. Then they turn around and call me and say that, oh, by the way, we're not going to bring you in for March 8th. We're going to bring you in for March 9th instead. And so, and the fact that when I talked to Terry, basically they had nothing really solid for me in TNA at the time. So we just kind of parted ways and restarted the visa process with Mexico, and that's what we're doing right now.
Sean, you wrestled in WWE, obviously, in TNA. Is there a wrestler or wrestlers out there that you'd like to step into the squared circle with that you haven't had that opportunity yet?
Such as Cody Rhodes or The Miz.
Oh, boy.
Oh, there are a lot of guys that like to step in the ring with. I mean, pretty much any of the talent in WWE is always worthwhile stepping into the ring with. TNA's got phenomenal talent. There's no question about it that anytime you step in the ring with them, it's going to be a pleasure for sure. One of the main guys that I think has a ton of talent, obviously, is Bobby Roode, and I'm not just being biased on him because he's Canadian or anything like that. He's an absolutely phenomenal worker, and I think he's got a huge future in the business.
You're not the only one that says that, too. Everybody loves Bobby Roode, and Bobby Roode's got everything. He's got the it factor. Switching gears just a little bit here, we know that you're a big political guy, and you have some very strong political opinions. Do you want to speak on that a little bit and maybe give us your stance?
A freetarian.
Well, freetarian is a word I created, just combining freedom and libertarian, because I am very much a hardcore libertarian.
Sure.
I believe in very, very limited government at the most and no government at the least. I don't believe anyone has a right to use government to force their needs or their desires on from other people.
Yep.
I think I like Val Venis. I think I like Sean Morley because that's exactly what I like.
Oh, absolutely. To me, the immigration issue here in Arizona, for example, I think it's absolutely nuts. I mean, you have a lot of people that are using government in order to keep people out that really want to come here and work hard. And I mean, they can't do it as individuals. I mean, if you kidnap someone and because they're not from America and you take them back to Mexico, I mean, that's called kidnapping. So if you can't do that as an individual, then theoretically you should not be able to vote someone into power to create some kind of tyrannical organization to kidnap these people and send them back for you. If you can't do it as an individual, then you shouldn't be able to do it through the use of government as well. And a lot of people will say, well, they're milking our social services, our schools, our health care, but that's not an immigration problem.
Right.
It's a government theft problem.
Yep.
And so I think we need to focus on the government theft problems and get rid of the government-run social programs and let charities handle the downtrodden and whatnot. And I think once you get rid of government or get government out of the business of welfare and education and things like that, you remove the use of intimidation, coercion, and force on citizens.
Yeah, I've never seen them turn away a ship full of immigrants from Europe. You know what I mean?
Good stuff and strong opinion, obviously. But, wow, Meathead, I can't – what, politics, really?
Hey, Meathead has been growing up. I used to be –
Meathead voted for, but anyways, Dave has a question.
Well, Sean, you got the T-shirts out there, right?
Absolutely.
And the website for that is?
The website for that is, you know what? I just changed it.
That's a long website. .com or .org?
Okay. Well,
I was going to say moneyshottees.com, but it's not moneyshottees.com anymore. I can tell you right now. It's valvenis.onlineshirtstores.com.
And then of course, everyone can follow you on Twitter at Freetarian, right?
Freetarian.com, absolutely. And there's links to the store there as well.
Awesome. Now, Sean, if you had to pick one guy, now you were in TNA for about a month or so. Who is the one guy there, if you could pick, that you would put the belt on and say, okay, this is the guy that's going to run the company, and we're just going to all, get on board him right now?
And most people say the Pope, just before you go.
Why would you
say the Pope? The Pope's great. There's no question about that. But I would definitely have to go hands down, flat out, on Bobby Roode. Absolutely.
The TNA original.
The TNA original, absolutely. I mean,
he needs Vince to get his hands on him because, like you said, he's money.
Absolutely, he is, for sure. I like the idea of him being in a tag team a little bit longer. I think he still needs to develop a little bit more of a personality.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to intensify the personality he has now. But yeah, I think he's well on his way to becoming one of the very best in the business.
Well, Sean, thank you so much for your time. And once again, that website for those T-shirts, valvenis.onlineshirtstores.com. Thank you very much for coming on to the program, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. This is the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and streaming live at espnmilwaukee.com.